When I was pregnant in a hospital bed, my husband divorced me by email, emptied our account, and brought a new woman into our home, but he had no idea that I had already shut down his entire world. Subject line had the words I had never imagined next to my name, notice of divorce. I was lying at that time on a bed in Denver General's labor and delivery ward, 7 months pregnant, and 4 in my arm, the green lines of the baby's heartbeat running across the monitor. The nurse had just told me about the bills, that insurance had not covered some of them. My phone rang. I thought maybe it would be Jason, asking how I was. He had sent an email. Papers were attached. Below it came another notification. Our joint account had been emptied. I stared at the screen. The baby moved inside my stomach, as if he, too, had been startled. I called Jason. He didn't pick up. Then a text arrived. This is for the best. I've left the house. A moment later, a picture, some unknown woman sitting on my own living room couch, wrapped in my blanket. The caption, we're starting fresh. Oddly, anger wasn't the first thing that came. Numbers came first. Rent, car payment, medical bills, credit cards, each one lining up in my mind like an unpaid parade. I worked part-time at a community college's admin office. Jason was in a construction company, but jobs had been slow for a year. We'd already been living close to the edge. What he had done didn't just break my heart, it pulled the ground out from under me. The nurse looked into my eyes. You okay, hun? I nodded. I need a minute. I called my sister, Megan. She listened quietly, then said, don't panic. Breathe. We'll handle it. And so I did what I always did when life cracked open. I sat up straight. I had one advantage Jason had never taken seriously. I understood paperwork. 2 years earlier, when his company offered him a partnership, I had reviewed the LLC documents for him. I told him not to put everything under one name, but he'd laughed and said, relax, babe. We're a team. Well, the team had quit. I opened my email and dug up old folders. In the early days, I had the company's banking access because I paid the bills. He changed the password later, but 2 weeks ago he'd asked me to download a tax form in a rush. He'd blurted the password out and I had written it somewhere. I remembered exactly where. Megan arrived at the hospital. When I told her Jason had drained the account, she locked eyes with me. You thinking what I'm thinking? I nodded. He moved company funds into our joint account before he drained it. That's commingling. It's illegal. Megan's husband, Dan, was a small-town attorney. I called him. He listened carefully, then said, do not touch anything yet. Send me screenshots. And don't respond to him. So I screenshot everything, every transaction, every email. Dan explained that if company funds were deposited into a personal account and then disappeared, the issue would stretch far beyond divorce law. I logged into the company portal. The password worked. There it was, a large transfer from the company into our joint account late last night, followed by it being emptied this morning. Inside the portal was a temporary freeze option. 2-factor authentication still went to my phone because Jason had never updated the number. I froze the account. 2 hours later, Jason called. His voice carried the same irritated tone he used in traffic. Why can't I access payroll? I said calmly, because you moved company money into our joint account and then emptied it. I froze the account. My lawyer will call you. He laughed, then stopped. You wouldn't. I already did. The next day he stormed into the hospital, alone this time. He threw the divorce papers on my bed. Signed them. I closed the file. You filed electronically. That's fine. But you don't get to clean me out and pretend this is clean. You're overreacting. I looked him straight in the eyes for the first time in days. I'm pregnant, Jason. You don't get to disappear and take the rent with you. Dan sent a notice to the company's other partner. In construction, a payroll freeze is no small thing. The partner must have called Jason, because that evening his messages shifted to desperation. Let's talk. We can fix this. I didn't reply. My mom used to say, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. When I was discharged, I wasn't alone. Megan took me home, to the apartment Jason and I shared. When I opened the door, the same woman from the picture was there, packing my things into boxes. She looked up, a mix of embarrassment and stubbornness on her face. He said you were okay with it. He lies, I said simply. I didn't call the police. Instead, I pulled out the lease paperwork. My name was on it. You have 1 hour. She left. Jason never showed. That night, for the first time, I placed my hand on my belly and whispered to my son, "We're going to be okay." I wasn't telling the truth, not yet, but I was making a promise. The following weeks moved fast. The company partner launched an internal audit. Jason was suspended. His messages bounced from rage to pleading. Dan filed our divorce response, including financial misconduct. A judge issued a temporary order granting me housing and support. It wasn't a windfall, but it was room to breathe. I applied for a full-time position at the community college. My boss, Maria, smiled and said, "You've basically been running this office already." She hired me. The benefits were better. Megan brought over her old crib. Mrs. Thompson from down the hall brought soup when she heard about the baby shower. Small miracles, I realized, weren't dramatic. They were quiet hands held out at the right time. When my son was born, Jason waited outside the hospital room. He asked to come in. I hesitated, then agreed, not because he deserved it, but because my child might one day ask about this moment. Jason looked at the baby, eyes welling. "I messed up," he said. "You did." I explained the court orders, the boundaries, the expectations. And softly, without anger, I told him, "If you want to be his father, you show up. On time. With respect. No shortcuts." Months passed. The case settled. Jason was removed from the company and fined, though not jailed. He repaid the money in installments. I kept the apartment, and a year later I bought a modest townhouse. I budgeted every month, paid bills on time, and sometimes cried at night from exhaustion. But every morning I stood in front of the mirror and saw a woman who had survived fear and walked beyond it. I learned that starting fresh doesn't come with a picture of someone else on your couch. It comes when you acknowledge your mistakes, set your boundaries, and stand upright for your child. Jason thought he had taken my world from me. He had no idea I already held the switchboard to his. And when the moment came, I didn't scream or break. I flipped the switch, quietly turning the light back toward myself. If this story moved you or reminded you of someone who needs strength right now, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly helps more stories like this reach the right people. Thank you for watching, and for being part of this community.